today I'm going to share with you whether I still love the Dewalt pole hedge trimmer 2 full years after I started using it. Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. Back with another tool review, so let's dive right in. This is my very first 2-year later tool review. It's got a 1-inch cut capacity. That means there's 1 inch travel between the two blades. It'll easily handle a 3/4 inch stick to cut off. It's got 22-inch blade altogether, 2,800 strokes per minute. And using this and the handle, it gives the average 6-foot fuller a 12-foot reach to get above their head. So the biggest negative reviews, there's only a few of them on Amazon that I found, were it's heavy, it's unbalanced, its joint is flimsy right here, and it's not actually 12 feet long. So we'll deal with those negative reviews as I go along. What I want to do is go back, look at what I said 2 years ago, and see what I've learned in those 2 years, and I'll fill you in on how much I really still love this. So back when I first opened this, just started using it, a few of the quick observations I found was the head was quite a bit heavier. By putting a 5 amp hour battery on the other end, it helped balance it a little bit. I noticed it had 7 articulating points here, 7 positive stops on the articulating angle, so you could go to 90 degrees or a little further. Little plastic latch here. My biggest concerns were quite a bit of flex. See if we can, quite a bit of flex in the head, and this whole assembly right here was plastic. At the time I said, you know, Dewalt, you can do better. And the other big thing was the motor up here on the head made it quite a bit heavier. How's it held up? Well, first off, you can see it's still in one piece, or technically 2 pieces. My biggest concern, bar none, was this joint right here. Now, you flip it, you can set it into place wherever you want it. I was worried that was going to break. Well, 2 things. Number 1, this is held up way better than I thought. I was able to tighten it up a little bit with a hex key right in there. But the big thing was, I never used this angle at all. When I first got it, I thought, you know what, I'm going to use that a lot. I used it once or twice and it became a pain in the ass. So what I found out was, even though I thought I would use this without a ladder, what this has gotten really good at is me being able to trim safely off the top of a step ladder and be able to reach out and get a nice smooth cut. A couple of things. When you have it on an angle, it's hard to tell whether you're cutting straight or not. What this thing has been absolutely brilliant for has been when it's hooked up, the 2 pieces just like this, then you can walk along with the hedge trimmer like this, just walk along and you can get your eye in, and it's a nice long straight edge. It's basically a 7-foot straight edge that allows you to get very, very smooth and straight cuts on hedges without having to work at it. So when I first picked this up, I still owned a couple of still gas-powered hedge trimmers. Yes, they had a bit more power, but the trade-off was the smell, the noise, the heat, the spilling gas. Well, I have since sold all my gas-powered hedge trimming. Now, I run a handyman business. I probably trim 30 or 40 hedges in a summer. That's it. So I don't, you know, it's not day in and day out. This would not hold up for someone that does this every day, all day long. But for somebody who does a fair bit of paid hedge trimming, this has been perfect. I find a lot of times, if I'm cutting up through branches, I like to come up backwards. It does a really good job. Now, as far as how the blades have held up, they've been really good. I haven't taken the time to sharpen them yet. Will I? I don't know. I'll probably just end up buying a new hedge trimmer head eventually. But the blades have held up well. Nothing is broke on it. My biggest concern was this joint here. It hasn't let go. There's no more play there than there was 2 years ago. Now this thing will run well on a 2 amp hour battery. I didn't notice any difference in power between a 2 and a 5, but runtime, of course, is a big difference. I found the 5 amp hour battery can do 3 or 4 average size hedges without even worrying about running out of the battery. You know, if you have a couple of 5 amp hour batteries with you, great. Well, what else I had bought was the handheld Dewalt hedge trimmer. More compact, just 1 piece. It has a little bit more power and can cut through a slightly thicker branch. But what I ended up finding was, with those short ones, it's a lot harder to get a nice straight edge. So I end up just using this 24/7. I walk along, I can do the fronts of hedges, the tops of hedges, the sides of hedges faster than I can do just the fronts with the handheld one. This has got a little less power, but what it makes up for is ease of use and being able to get a nice straight edge while you go. The thing that I find when I'm doing hedges, I just keep a pair of bypass loppers in the truck. And for the 4 or 5 thick branches that I find that have a hell of a time cutting through with this, I just snip them off by hand. It's quicker than trying to switch around, and this is way easier on the back, just in case you're wondering. These blades are friggin' sharp. Keep your fingers away from them. I've cut myself on a couple of different occasions. I've had big blades. Actually, what I find, the thick branches don't jam it up as much as the thin flexible ones that get in between the two blades, and they'll stop it. You just clean it out, and you're good to go. Now I want to show you a cool little hack that I discovered almost a year into using this thing. So if you guys have followed me, you know I have the Dewalt battery-powered pole saw. I love it. That thing has held up well. Well, in the box, this guy came with 2 pieces. And I could have swore when I first started out that I tried the middle piece from the pole saw and it wouldn't fit. But I think what I did was I had it backwards and I was stupid. Wasn't thinking at the moment. But the pole saw gives you about 15 feet of reach. This gives you about 12. But if you have both, you can use the middle section, which is what, about 3 feet high, from the pole saw, and this will give you a full 15 feet of reach with a 6-foot guy with the pole hedge trimmer. Now what's great about that is that I find this thing is 100 times better at cutting thin branches. So those like 1/2 inch to 3/8 kind of stuff that you just need to trim off. Trying to use a pole saw with that, like a pole chainsaw, it's heavy, it's awkward, and it just wraps around the blade. Whereas this, you get up there, and this is really good. I use this a ton for shaping trees as well. So tall trees with new growth on them, way easier to use this at 15 feet high than it is to use the pole saw. 2 reasons. This is slightly better balanced, but number 2, those thin branches don't catch on the chain and get sucked back in around the base of it. This does a great job of giving haircuts to overgrown trees that you have a hell of a time reaching from the ground. And I guess finally, the thing I love the most about this is the thing I love about most of the Dewalt battery gear. Listen to an audiobook or a podcast using this, and I never have to holler. I don't have sore, I don't have hot ears from those over-ear earmuffs all day. I'm not sucking in fumes. This thing is great for the 80% to 90% power that it has over compared to the gas. The benefits far outweigh it. And the fact that this has held up as well as it has over 2 years for really heavy use, this would be what you would consider really heavy homeowner use. This is not designed for everyday, all-day use, but 2 years later, and like I said, 30, maybe 40 hedges a summer, this thing's held up really well. 2 years later, still going strong. Still, this is the thing that I pick up every time I need to trim hedges. So I hope that helps. I hope you enjoyed this look back 2 years later. I can't believe I've been running this channel for almost 2.5 years now. This is the very first 2 year later review I did. I'm sure I'll have one for the pole saw and a few others coming up, but I love it. This thing has been great. I love my Dewalt gear. It's held up really well for what I've used it. So if you got any questions, throw them in the comments below. If you have any requests for reviews, let me know. I'll do those for you as well. Hit the subscribe button, stick around, go to the Telegram group, join the community, hang around, and become part of the interactive community that we have. I love the workshop. And guys, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.